Hey man, the truth is, when a woman loses a man who was genuine, loyal, and present, she never truly forgives herself. Not because of what happened between you two, but because deep down she knows she had something most people spend their lives searching for, and she destroyed it. At first, she'll deny it. She'll tell herself it wasn't meant to be, that you weren't the one, that she needed space or freedom. But months later, when the excitement fades, when the silence gets heavy, when no one else makes her feel the way you did, that's when it hits her. The weight of her own mistake. The realization that she let go of a man who would have done anything for her, and that kind of man doesn't come twice. In the beginning, she'll pretend she's fine. She'll distract herself. New friends, new attention, maybe even a rebound. She'll post more, laugh louder, convince herself she's living her best life. But that performance is fragile, because beneath the surface, her heart knows something's missing. The way you listened to her when no one else did, the calm you brought to her chaos, the stability you gave without asking for anything back, she'll start to crave that again. But she won't find it, because what she had with you wasn't just attention, it was presence. And that kind of presence can't be replaced by noise. She'll try to rewrite the story to protect her pride. She'll tell herself you were too much, too emotional, too available, too attached. But over time, that story starts to crack, because the very things she called too much start to look like just enough when no one else gives them. When every new connection feels shallow, when every new man keeps her guessing instead of making her feel safe, that's when she realizes she wasn't overwhelmed by your love. She was scared of it, scared of being seen that deeply, scared of someone who actually cared. And that fear cost her everything. She'll never forgive herself because she'll replay that choice 1,000 times in her head. She'll remember the last conversation, the last glance, the last message. She'll remember the silence that followed and how you didn't chase after her this time. That's when regret sinks its teeth in, because it's not the loss that hurts her, it's how easily she let it happen, how easily she assumed you'd always be there, waiting, ready to forgive. But when you didn't return, when you went quiet, she realized too late that her actions had consequences. There's a unique pain that comes from realizing you were loved by someone who would have stayed forever. She'll feel that pain every time she meets a man who only half shows up, who ghosts, who flirts without depth, who plays instead of protects. And each time that happens, she'll be reminded of you, not because she misses the relationship, but because she misses the peace. You were her calm in a chaotic world, her safety net when life got loud, and now she has to live with the truth that she traded peace for pride. She'll tell herself she's moved on, but her heart will know the difference. Because real love doesn't fade when the chapter closes, it lingers in the quiet spaces. She'll see men who look like you, sound like you, dress like you, and for a moment her heart will jump, but it won't be you. And that realization will sting every single time, because you were not just another man, you were her man, the one who saw her flaws and stayed, the one who forgave her chaos, her moods, her silence, the one who gave her what she didn't even know she needed, emotional safety. She'll never forgive herself because she'll realize you weren't replaceable. You were foundational. You taught her what genuine love feels like. You set the standard, even if she didn't realize it at the time. And now every man after you will have to compete with a memory. That's what women never talk about. How the memory of a good man becomes the ghost that haunts them in every future connection. It's not the heartbreak that lingers, it's the comparison. Because once a woman feels what it's like to be fully loved, she can't forget it. She'll start to see the pattern, how she keeps attracting the same type of man. The emotionally unavailable, the inconsistent, the detached. And she'll begin to wonder if it's karma. Maybe she's finally feeling what you once felt. The confusion, the longing, the constant questioning of where she stands. That's when she'll realize that you weren't just another chapter in her story. You were the turning point, the moment the story could have gone right, but didn't. Her pride will keep her from saying it, but inside, she'll wish she could turn back time. She'll wish she could go back to that moment where you were still trying, still hoping, still believing in her potential. Because she knows now that no one else will see her like you did. No one else will love her that purely. And that's what keeps her up at night. Not the loss of you, but the loss of who she was when she had you. Because you brought out the best version of her, and now that version only exists in memory. She'll never forgive herself, because she'll realize too late that men like you don't come back. You weren't bluffing when you walked away. You didn't use silence as a trick. You used it as a boundary, and that boundary became her awakening. Because when you stop chasing, when you stop proving your worth, she's forced to confront her own. And most women can't handle that. The idea that they lost something good, not because it disappeared, but because they pushed it away. She'll notice how peaceful you've become, how your energy no longer revolves around her, how your eyes look lighter, calmer. And that's what hurts most. Not that you moved on, but that you're thriving. Because her ego told her you'd crumble without her, but instead you rebuilt yourself. And that growth is what breaks her. Because now she has to accept that the man she thought she could always return to is gone, evolved, distant, untouchable. The truth is, she'll try to replace you. She'll chase distractions, attention, even affection, but every new connection will fall short. Because none of them come from love, they come from escape. Escape from the silence you left behind, escape from the guilt that's now eating her alive. But escape doesn't heal, it only delays the pain, and eventually she'll have to face it. The truth that she broke something beautiful for no reason. When she sees you with someone new, that regret turns into heartbreak. Because now the final nail is in the coffin. Now she's not just imagining your peace, she's seeing it. And the image of you giving another woman what was once hers will haunt her more than any words could. That's when she'll realize that you were not replaceable, that she didn't lose a man, she lost her mirror, her stability, her anchor. She'll never forgive herself, because every lesson she learns from losing you comes too late. The patience you showed taught her what consistency feels like. The way you listened taught her what being understood feels like. The way you stayed taught her what love is supposed to look like. But she had to lose you to appreciate it. And that's the tragedy. She had to destroy something sacred just to recognize its value. Her friends might tell her, "You'll find someone better," but she knows that's not true. Because what she lost wasn't about perfection, it was about connection. You weren't perfect, but you were genuine. You weren't flawless, but you were real. And in a world full of temporary people, that kind of realness is priceless. And now it's gone. She'll remember your voice, the way it softened when you talked to her, the way you said her name, the way you reassured her when she doubted herself. Those little things will start to echo in her mind like music she can't turn off. And every time she hears it, her chest will tighten, not from missing you, but from knowing she'll never experience that again. She'll never forgive herself, because she'll realize she didn't just lose love, she lost loyalty. The rare kind that doesn't ask for anything in return. The kind that shows up when it's inconvenient, that listens when it's uncomfortable, that stays when it's easier to leave. That kind of loyalty leaves a mark. And once you've experienced it, every shallow connection after feels like static. At some point, she'll admit to herself, not to anyone else, but to herself, that she messed up. She'll look in the mirror and whisper, "He didn't deserve that," and that whisper will break her, because for the first time she'll stop blaming you and start taking responsibility. That's the kind of regret that doesn't fade. It evolves into guilt, and guilt into longing. She'll try to reach out one day, maybe out of nowhere, a simple message, a random memory, a "Hey, I was just thinking about you." But it won't be because she's ready to reconnect. It'll be because she's drowning in her own silence. She'll want to test if she still has access, if the door is still open. But when you don't reply, when your silence stays firm, she'll finally realize the truth. Her time ran out. That's when it'll hit her the hardest. That forgiveness isn't something you owe her. It's something she'll have to live without. Because there's no peace in knowing you destroyed something pure. There's no closure in realizing you were the villain in your own love story. And for her, that's the punishment. Not losing you, but living with herself after losing you. She'll start seeing parts of you in other people. Your kindness, your humor, your discipline. But it won't feel the same. Because no one else carries your energy, your calmness, your depth. That's when she'll realize she didn't just lose a man. She lost a once-in-a-lifetime soul, and that kind of loss doesn't heal. It just hides behind a smile. The guilt will visit her at random moments, when she's happy, when she's alone, when she's falling asleep. It'll whisper reminders of the man who loved her purely. It'll remind her of the messages she never replied to, the efforts she dismissed, the love she mishandled, and those whispers will follow her for years, becoming quieter but never disappearing. What she'll never tell anyone is that your absence became her mirror. It forced her to see who she really was, Not the confident version she showed the world, but the selfish version that ruined something good. And that realization will stay with her longer than your presence ever did. Because regret doesn't fade, it transforms into lessons that hurt. She'll never forgive herself, because in the end, she'll realize that you were the one who truly saw her, and she let that go. You saw her before she became bitter, before she put walls up, before she changed. You saw her innocence, her softness, her soul, and now that you're gone, she'll spend years trying to find someone who sees her the same way. But she won't, because she closed the door on the only man who did. So remember this, you don't need revenge, you don't need to prove your worth, and you don't need her apology, because the truth is, she'll live with the regret forever. She'll smile in photos, she'll move on with life, but a part of her will always ache for what she lost. And while she hides that regret behind pride, you'll carry peace, because the man who was once broken became the man she'll never stop thinking about. And that, my friend, is why she'll never forgive herself for losing you.